Hello everyone, welcome back to Rose's Movie Reviews, the show where I review stuff that's mostly pretty good and maybe one of the best movies of all time, or I review something that sucks and no one should ever see, and it's probably one of the worst movies of all time. Now I know I haven't been making videos in quite some time, and the reason for that is one reason and one reason only: school. Um, just trying to been, you know, school life is pretty hectic recently, and getting my finals done for second trimester is was a pain, but now that's over with, I want to get back to making videos. Um, now I I don't think as of now I don't want to necessarily go back to how I was making videos before, which was one review every Saturday, because that took me away from my school, and that obviously I shouldn't really do that. And I spent the time focusing on school, which made me slip away from the film or from my movie review series. So I won't be doing them every single Saturday as of now. Maybe around the summer I probably will, but um in terms of summer plans, I actually want to watch a TV series I didn't really get into that much over the last year. So I want to catch up on that this summer, and as well as work on the film that me and my friends have been trying to work on for since last summer, and obviously, I since almost like 2018. Um, but ever since COVID-19 has took a major effect on the world, we had to basically halt production on the film, and um, we haven't gone that far yet. I am hoping to at least somewhat work on that. Like I said, this summer. And I hope that um, this pandemic it will sweep over. Well, not sweep over, but basically, I just hope that it lines up a bit so that we can. I can meet up with my friends in person and work on the film. In terms of other projects for this channel, um, I already have I have a base set idea for what the Halloween special is gonna be. I don't know if I'm gonna do a Christmas one, cause I basically already went over most of the majority of my Christmas films on Blu-ray during the first year. So I don't know if it's gonna be a whole month, or I'm just gonna have one review at least somewhat around Christmas. Um, that isn't it right now, but I do plan on having a second annual Halloween special. Um, so for any of you guys who are wondering about that, there's your answer. Um, in terms of my podcast, this Korean Squadcast, we are hoping to upload a new video by today. Um, sometime by the end of today, I hope that there will be a new um, episode of the Korean Squadcast out, which will be, I think, episode 19. Um, so that will be out hopefully by today. And as I said in the original post, which you guys can go and check out on the discussion section of the channel, I did say that there will be two reviews coming out today. One of them is the one you're watching right now, and the second one I will mention at the end of this review. Um, so yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get on to the actual review. And as you guys could tell by the title and the thumbnail, today I'm reviewing one of my favorite animated movies of all time, and that will be Zootopia. Um, I've only watched this a few times to briefly talk about my history with the film. Um, I think the first time I actually watched it was from a because my elementary school used to do once every year they would hold a we would go out into the field that was in the school, and they would set up one of those inflatable screen, or one of those theater screens, and then put a projector like behind like all the crowd so that you could see the movie. And one year, I think it was around 2017, so like my fourth or fifth year of school or of elementary school, we watched Zootopia, and I absolutely loved it. As the years go on, I've watched it every. Uh, I don't watch it consistently. I usually just watch it when I feel like it, and obviously I had to watch it for this review. And um, as I watch the film, I start to see the problems with it. Um, they're not major, I personally think, but it's just more noticeable when you watch a film so many times. Um, but I'll get to that later on in this video. So, anyway, this was released on March 4th of 2016. With a budget of $150 million. Domestically, it made over 400 or 341 million, and worldwide, it made over $1 billion at the box office. So, this was a smash hit. And this was directed by Brian Howard and Rich Moore. Um, which I never really heard of until doing research about this film. And so yeah. So the plot for this film is that from the largest elephant to the smallest shrew, the city of Zootopia is a a mammal metropolis where various animals live and thrive. When Judy Hopps, played by Jennifer, I'm sorry if I'm gonna mess up this name, which I probably will. Jennifer Goodwin, uh, becomes the first rabbit to join the police force. She quickly learns how to how tough it is to enforce the law. Determined to prove herself, jumps at the opportunity to solve a mysterious case. Unfortunately, that means working with Nick Wilde, played by Jason Bateman, a wild fox who makes her job even more difficult. So, yeah, from the base of it, it sounds like a typical buddy cop movie that we would see from the 80s, like a Lethal Weapon or like 48 Hours or something like that. Um, so, um, like I said, I watched this film, you know, about a year after it came out, maybe like 2016, 2017. Loved it, as I said, but then obviously as the years went on, I've gotten a lot more mature eyes, and and I watch it at a much older age, and I start to realize that there's a lot of. I'll talk about this more in a bit, but for me personally, the middle of the film kind of drags a bit. I don't know if this is with anyone else, but around when they infiltrate the facility is when it starts slowing down a bit. Um, and then the whole final act, I really don't understand. Which, I mean, it's not like I'm completely baffled by it, but it's just the fact of I'll get to it. I'll get to it. So, um, so we obviously have Jennifer Goodman, or Jennifer, however you say that, as Judy Hopps. I think she did fine. With the role that she was given. Um, I think that personally, I can kind of relate to her. With the whole like just trying to like show that she is someone instead of no one. I could actually kind of relate to that. Um, but um, it's just some of the things that she has to say are really cheesy, which grandly doesn't happen that much. So I can give a pass on that. Jason Bateman as Nick Wilde. I think that Uh, he did fine. Uh, it kind of just seemed like he was like, yeah, granted, he does help her at certain points in the film, but it's just he kind of fits like the comic relief sidekick because there are some parts where he's kind of goofy and stuff like that, but mostly he's serious. Um, we have Jenny Slate as Bellwether. Such a weird name. Um, she I'll get to her character in a bit, but I'll just if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm about to talk about. But if you haven't seen the movie, spoilers for the rest of this review. I mean, grandly, like I've said in multiple reviews in the past, all my reviews are spoilers, really. So you know what you're asking when you click on my video. It's about a movie and I'm reviewing it, so I'm possibly gonna mention spoilers at some point. But I'll just say as of now, I'll get like I said, I'm gonna get to more about her character in a bit. But the change that she has is kind of sudden, and it's just for me personally, it's just a little no. Like I don't really like it that much. Um, we have probably my favorite character in the whole film, Chief Boga. I'm sorry if I well, granted that's the character's name, so I don't feel too bad. Idris Elba. I really sorry if I butchered that name. He is the funniest part about this film. He plays the chief of the police squad, and it's just the way that he says stuff, especially to when he's confronting like Judy Hopps. It's really funny, and like it's kind of like a It's like Joe Pesci from Home Alone, where he's like, you could tell that like he wants to like just go off and start screaming and cursing, but he's like, I wait, just calm down. It's a kids film. I can't exactly go off. So he maintains it very well, and he says some very funny lines. So yeah, we have Nate Torrance as Officer Chawhorser. Again, weird ass names. He plays I think the desk clerk at the police station. Um, Now he's like the bubbling like how like the Lethal Weapon sequels had again Joe Pesci there as like a goofball sidekick. That's what this character is. He's basically just comic relief every time you there's a scene with him. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Not at all. But it's just it's like when there's like supposed to be like a serious scene and then that happens is like yeah, you just go over there. um and probably my second favorite actor in the whole film, uh, Mayor Lionheart, which is played surprisingly by J.K. Simmons. Yes, J. Jonah Jameson from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films plays the mayor of Zootopia in Zootopia. Like, okay. Um, Granted, I didn't really. I can hear a like now that I know it's the guy who played J. Jonah Jameson. I can kind of hear that voice in the character, but before I never knew it was the guy who played. I never knew it was J.K. Simmons until I did research. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's J.K. Simmons. Um, and finally, the last two that I want to mention is Bonnie Hunt and Don Locke as Bonnie and Stu Hopps, which is Judy's parents. Um, Bonnie Hunt, I will actually discuss later this summer when I review the Cars series, because surprisingly, Cars is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, like the first film. So I will be reviewing that series of films this year. Um, but um, I will mention I think Bonnie Hunt's in it. I don't know. I think she is. But yeah. Um, they're both fine with their performances because I think they only really have a couple of scenes like before she leaves to Zootopia, and then when like in the third act, right before she goes back to Zootopia to figure out the final piece of the mystery. You can tell that I'm recording this kind of early in the morning. I'm recording this at like basically 10:30 in the morning. Um, which is why I think my voice is a little bit lower than usual. Uh, but yeah, I think they did fine. Uh, with the stuff that they were given. Um, um, so I guess to talk about the bad points that I have about this film, because I do have a few. Um, I think that some of the writing could be is a little bit either cheesy or just plain up cringy. Um, along with some of the scenes. Um, and if I have to be completely honest, I mean, granted, this is a Disney film, so it is kind of seen all around as like a cute, cuddly kids film. But even like looking at the cover, what do you see from this film? It's like it's a kids film, and really it is. But there's a number of scenes in the film where it can be classified as almost a horror film. Because I remember there's one scene when they're where Nick and Judy are running out of I think the facility, and they're getting chased by because the whole plot about the mystery is like why are these predators acting, starting to act crazy. But then over the course of the story, it starts to be revealed. Um, but um, but like that whole chase scene is like that scared the crap out of me when I first saw it. I was like, whoa! I thought this was a Disney film, not like Friday the 13th. Um, but it's like, jeez, like when like this. I feel like this film. The real major problem that I have with this film is it flip flops in tone where it's like, oh, it's a happy kids film to, oh god, these characters might be murdered, and it's like, you need to settle into that and then settle out. You can't just like go like straight from kids film to horror film just like that. Like I just don't like it that much. Um, and then the whole finale really I just found to be a total crapshoot. So basically, Jenny Slate's character is throughout the course of the film, she is shown to be like a desk clerk, and it like really just has like all the menial tasks around the ship or like around the police station. Now this is where the spoilers. I mean, if I would have had a tag, I'd probably put it right here. This is where the spoilers are at. So if you haven't seen this film, stop watching, and if you don't, either you've seen the film or you just don't care. This film has uh, uh, this is one of the Disney films that actually has a twist. Um, and in my personal opinion, it's one of the worst. Um, so the twist is that Jenny Slate's character has been actually drugging the predators into going basically ape shit, and no one has figured that out because she has played this kind of shy desk clerk guy, kind of like the kind of nerdy guy from Office Space. Yeah, think of that, but he also has a psychotic side that just wants everyone to murder each other. And then you get Jenny Slate's character from this film. And Judy and Nick, like catch on to that, and they're like, oh crap, we should probably stop her. They go to stop her, and she shoots Nick, and it's like, oh shit, dude, is Judy about to die? And then like this is like another case of like why I think like the tone just goes kind of like wonky, because before, I mean, granted, it goes from like it goes from kids film to like suspense film and then straight up horror. This is like the perfect scene that I would describe that goes from kids film, like it just tick all those genres. So it starts out as like a kids film, like we got you, and then um she basically has this like gun. Basically, it's not a gun, but it's basically like a tranquilizer gun where it's like she loads like the toxins up and then shoots the predator, and then that's what clicks them off. So she shoots Nick. It's like, oh god, no, not Nick. And then they get both put into this like arena where Nick has to try and hunt her down. And then there's one shot where it's like she's backed up into a corner, and you just see like Nick just like coming out of like the brush, and he's about to bite her, and you're like, oh shit. And it's like, that's horror right there. And then she bites her, and it's like, oh, that's it. And then she acts the whole like blood, like, because that's that was the whole thing at the beginning of the film where she's playing out like she's in a play, and then she's like, oh, blood, blood. And then that comes up at this scene, and like Jenny, like Bellwether, and she's like, what the fuck? I thought he was supposed to kill her. And then they're like, by the way, your gun, we slipped the thing out with blueberries. And she looks in the gun, and there's fucking blueberries in there. And it's like, I gotta admit, the twist sucked. That scene though, or like that it's like, oh yeah, we put the blueberries in there. It's stupid, but it's like clever, like, and I like that. And then she's like, well, it doesn't matter because you don't have any proof. And then she has Judy pulls out like the character recorder, and she plays back the recording, what she said about the predators. And she's like, it's your word against yours. Oh fuck, I fucked up the line. It's your word against yours. It's called a hustle, sweetheart. And I was like, yes, that's badass. And then she gets caught, and then the final shot is, or the final scene is basically Nick gets accepted into the police academy, or like he gets accepted as a police officer. So not only Judy was not only Judy was the first rabbit to become a police officer, Nick is the first fox to become a police officer, which I was like, oh, okay, that's a cool reference to the beginning of the film. Um, and then they're just chilling in like the police car, and then they see like a car just whiz by like really quickly, and then they start chasing it down, and that's the end of the film. Now, if I have to be completely honest, I think it's really trying to set up for a sequel, but it doesn't really need one. It's kind of um, like the whole car situation where it was like the first film did a lot of money, and I think it's one of the best Pixar movies and one of the best Disney films ever made, and one of the best animated films ever made. And then they made Cars 2, and then that one didn't do as like it made a lot of money, but it's like quality wise it wasn't that good. And then Cars 3 came out, and it's like, okay, now you brought the franchise back up because that one's actually really good. Which again, I'll talk about more about when I get the summer and I review all three films. Um, so yeah, so in terms of favorite scenes, um, I don't really have any because overall I think the film's very good, and so yeah. Um, I guess fun. To go over the fun fact and the score and stuff like that. My fun fact is that the originally the film was supposed to revolve around Nick, But test audiences had a hard time trying to connect with him emotionally, so they switched the protagonist from Nick to Judy, which I think it works for the better because, to be completely honest, Nick is just such a psychotic, sarcastic asshole that I could see why that like people couldn't really connect to them emotionally, whilst Judy is more like a normal human being. So I could see why. Uh, and yeah, and so the music was composed by Michael Gigotti. I probably messed up the name. Which, if you guys are a fan of my channel and you guys remember all the way back to my Star Trek marathon that I did earlier, back in 2020, uh, the same composer composed the music, I believe, to all three Kelvin Timeline films. So he has a range, which I'm very like. I was glad to research, and I found out that it was the same composer that did all three Kelvin Timeline films. Um, the score for this, I think, is okay. It's For me personally, it's not one of those soundtracks where I can just go onto YouTube Music, start playing the soundtrack, and just have a fun experience. Unlike the original six Star Trek films or something like that. Or yeah, even the Kelvin Timeline films, it's not like those ones where I could just put on the music and just be fine. It works fine with the film, but in terms of by itself, it wasn't really that good. Which I'm not saying the score was bad. It's just by itself, it doesn't really work as well as with you know the film playing over it. Um, and so yeah. Final thoughts. I think that this is still one of my favorite anime movies of all time. I don't think it's as much as certain other ones that I will discuss later this year. But um, in terms of by itself, I think it's a really good watch. So I'm gonna give this film an 8 out of 10, or in letter scale, I'm gonna give this a B. So, uh, hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for later on in this and later on today, where I will be reviewing Bohemian Rhapsody. So, anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this review or this latest edition of Russell's Movie Reviews, and stay tuned for later on today, where I will be discussing Bohemian Rhapsody. Live long and prosper. Out.